Hi, Adam.
Hey Jack, how are you? Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too, bud. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for doing this today. I really appreciate it.
Oh man, what a pleasure. It's so nice to be here and talk to you.
First off, man, this film was amazing. Honestly, I really, really enjoyed it, and it's refreshing to see even Michael Pitt on the screen. I'm a big fan of his work as well. Yeah, and just to kick things off, this film has received such a positive reception with critics, audiences. It even got praise at major festivals like Venice. So, like, this is just amazing stuff, man. And for a directorial debut, it's amazing. Um,
Oh man, thank you.
What's really cool is that one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, Martin Scorsese, actually introduced and praised this film, Day of the Fight, at a special screening, which must have been an incredible honor for you. What I love about his films, and I'm sure you can agree, is that they cover a wide range of themes. For example, like Taxi Driver explores isolation and inner struggles. Raging Bull looks at redemption and self-destruction, and Goodfellas dives into loyalty and betrayal. Did any of these themes or others from his work influenced how you approached Mikey's journey in Day of the Fight?
I think we can't discount any of the sort of greats to sort of influence everything we do. I mean, I've always said that I believe to be such a student of film that I'm always looking at inspiration comes from anything and everywhere. Sometimes the strangest places cause those moments of inspiration. I think Marty, just as a filmmaker in general, is such a force that it's somebody I talked to him about even his last film. I said it's funny. Some films that are hailed as great movies can be remembered for a year. I said his films will be remembered and looked at for the next 100 years. That's the difference of every film he makes. He's technique like a
Like
doctor,
yeah,
like forensic,
he's like meticulous, yeah.
meticulous, brilliant. So I look at him, he's surgical about how he makes a movie, and everything is thought about, every angle, everything. And that's maybe what I learned from him and being lucky enough to work with him a couple of times is just how important everything is and how much he loves cinema and how many influences have been, present in his films and in his life and how he's always watching. The greatest thing he said to me when he introduced the film the other day was, I've watched your film a few times now. He doesn't just watch it once, he watches it multiple times and he picks up different things and he brought up different moments that he didn't say the last time. And it's so beautiful because you realize somebody who he's still like a kid making movies. He's so excited about discovering something new, excuse me, that I'm so just like honored to have a supporter in someone like Martin Scorsese because a lot of people might make a reference to our film because it's boxing and it's black and white, that it's Raging Bull. And the first thing he said is that would be lazy. If any critic tries to compare your film to Raging Bull, it's lazy. It's completely lazy because they're looking at it. It's like comparing any type of film, that it's a color and it's a drama, or it's about sport, whatever. You can't do that. You have to look deeper into these things. And that was the beautiful thing about Marty, is his support is so important because when you hear it from him, that's just, as a filmmaker and as an actor, as somebody, there's nobody I respect more in the world. There's nobody I look up to more than some of these wonderful directors, writers, actors who have come and support the film. Gus Van Sant just did the lovely Q&A at the DGA with me. I've got Ridley's coming and hosting something, Ridley Scott, in a few weeks. It's just having the support of these guys means everything.
And what's great about all those people you mentioned, Gus Van Sant, Ridley Scott, Martin Scorsese, they're like artists. I know I sound corny saying that, but it's not like making a movie. It's like painting a picture. It's like the film is like the canvas and like what they're doing, like who they're casting, the
Yeah.
story, the themes. Like for example, like Joe Pesci, who's in your film,
Mm.
he's collaborated with Martin Scorsese multiple times, and he rarely appears in movies. When I saw that he was in this film, I was like, wow, like that just proves how good of a talent you are. Not even just in front of the camera, but
Oh,
behind
that's
the
so
camera,
kind.
right? I really, no, it's the honest truth. And when he's in films, Joe Pesci, he steals the show. Even in
Yeah.
this film, he said such
Unbelievable.
little, and he evoked so much emotion through his mannerisms and expressions. Also, too, a fun fact for everybody watching that may not know, that you use one of his songs in the film, and not many people know
Yes.
that Joe Pesci's a very good singer. He actually used to perform with Frank Vincent back in the day, in like the
Mm.
70s. Many
He-
people don't know about that.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually why I cast him in the movie. It was for his voice. I discovered he was a singer. I went over to a friend's house who just recorded some music, and he gives me the headphones, and he goes, "If you can tell me who's singing, I'll give you $100. I'll give you a hint. He's an Oscar-winning actor." I listen, I hear this voice, these cadence, these high notes that sound like Jimmy Scott. I'm like, no idea. He goes, "It's Joe Pesci." And I was in the middle of writing the father who was suffering from dementia.
Yeah.
And I remember my own grandmother, when she was suffering from dementia, music would bring her back in the room. She'd have these moments of lucidity through music. It would pull her back. It would bring her memory back almost. And I thought, well, imagine if Joe doesn't speak, but at the end you hear him sing. And you have to have an actor of such talent, with such gravitas, with such force, that his previous films and his characters almost precede him. So when you find him, you can imagine what he was like in the past, but you're seeing him as the shadow of what is, a waif of his former self. And Joe was able to do so much. And there's this moment at the end of that scene where Mikey goes, when he's playing the song, which is "If I Ever Lost You," this beautiful song.
If I ever, yeah, I can't
I
sing
mean, look at it.
it.
There we go. And, oh no, but I mean, like literally, that's the song I heard, and I said, "It's got to be that song." And he goes, "As a kid, I used to pretend you wrote this song for me, just because it was like I just wish you could tell me you love me." And then, as the music's playing, you see Joe in one look. Every memory floods through his face and just in his eyes. And I said, only Joe Pesci can do that. In one split second, you can see an entire history wash over him. And I mean, that was our second day of filming. I was floored. Just beautiful. And he has a lovely bit at the end of the film where he says a sentiment: "Help the helpless, strengthen the fearful, comfort the sorrowful." And that's Joe, man. That's his vibe. He has the last line of the movie, the last sentiment of the film, and it's just beautiful to me.
Yeah, there's even a point in the right when Mikey's talking to Joe Pesci's character, and you can almost see Joe Pesci. He wants to speak. There's a moment where he like opens his
Yeah.
mouth for a second, and it's like, and I was
He's
wondering,
trying to get the words out.
oh, it was like that. I'm telling you, man, that really,
Oh man, rips my heart out,
oh
man.
my
Rips my
goodness,
heart
yeah,
out.
it really. I was like, oh, you're sitting there like dead. You're seeing like, okay, like tell him you love him back. Tell him you love him back. Like say something like.
Yeah,
And then when he left, you think there's some closure there, but when he leaves, it's like because that's reality, man. It's not. Sometimes it doesn't end off always the way you want, but I feel like Mikey
yeah,
let all those
yeah.
emotions out.
But Mike, he got to say it, even though he said it in this state with his father in that state.
Hmm.
I believe that he heard it though, and
Yeah,
that he knew what he wanted to say. And I think that's the most important part, is he got to say it, what he was never able to say to his dad. And I think his dad heard it.
my last question for you is because this is a really interesting thing because boxing movies, for example, like Rocky or Raging Bull, right? They use the fight itself to tell a deeper story. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not obviously like we discussed. I'm not going to be here to be like, oh, this is like Raging Bull or like Rocky, but
Complete. I know it's a real. I know where you're going. I love this. Tell me. Ask me.
because
Tell
because
me.
the fight itself it always has a deeper message. For example,
Mm,
when Rocky keeps getting knocked down but always gets back up, it's a symbol of resilience and never giving
yeah.
up. In Day of the Fight, what does Mikey's fight represent to you, and what do you want the audience to take away from that?
Well, I love that you're referencing it because that's so important. Because I always say this is a film about a boxer, not a boxing film, which I love that you're representing the fight because I said I wanted to make a film that
Hmm.
would work ostensibly without the fight, where you could watch it. My thing is, I wanted that fight to be earned. I wanted people who don't even like boxing, who have no interest in watching a boxing match. When they do get to the boxing match, they're actually ready for it because they're in Mikey's corner because they've just witnessed an entire life through a day. So you can't help. I always say Day of the Fight is a metaphor almost for what's happening outside of the ring. It's the day of he's fighting for everything, actually, least of which is the title. He's not after the title, he's after everything else. That's what he's fighting for in this day. So when you get to that boxing match, it's so funny. People who can't bear boxing have come up to me after screenings of this movie in tears and said, I hate boxing, but I love your film and I love the boxing match because it's so interesting when you're witnessing somebody fighting for love. When I say love, he's fighting for all of those things in his life that he was never able to. And it's in this one moment where you're witnessing a man and he's fighting himself. It's the struggle he's been going for his whole life. And that's the resilience with him, is he does it. It's such a, yeah, I wanted it to sort of really play that, you could, you didn't actually need to see the fight, but you feel like you've earned it in this one. You feel like he's earned it. He's earned his final shot, like his final shot.
Before we wrap it up, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today, Jack. You're a pleasure to talk to you. We have to do this again
Oh,
sometime.
Adam, man, what a pleasure. I'd love to do it again, brother. You're so good. You ask such great questions,
I
man.
really appreciate. Yeah, I have you on Instagram. We should stay in touch. I'll tag
I
you in all the
love it.
content. Yeah,
Yes, done and done, brother.
thank you. And for everybody watching, just to let everybody know, it's set to release in select theaters on December 6th. So please support the film if you're in the area watching
Yes.
it. Yes, and also to the film, everybody watching it, it has Michael Pitt, Steve Buscemi, Nicolette Robinson, John McGarrell, Ron Perlman, and of course Joe Pesci with fantastic, memorable performances, and Jack brilliantly directing. Jack, thank you very much, man.
Thank you so much, Adam. What a pleasure. Great speaking to you, my friend.
Thanks. Take care, man.
Thank you, sir.